All right, let's talk about that feeling. That feeling of burnout, of being stuck in a loop, where all your hard work just seems to lead to more exhaustion, not real change. We're going to dig into what's really going on there and see if we can find a better way through it.
You know that feeling, right? Like you can just sense these invisible rules steering everything, pushing people in certain directions without them even noticing. It's kind of like everyone's operating inside this giant machine, but the machine is so huge, so total, that we just think it's the room.
And this is a really important distinction to make. It is so easy to fall into the trap of thinking there's some secret group pulling all the strings. But the truth is, it's something way more subtle, and honestly, way more powerful. It's not a secret, it's just everywhere.
So, let's get into how this machine works right out in the open. It's not hidden away in the shadows. It's more like the water we're swimming in. You don't notice it because it's everything.
Just think about that for a minute. The system we're in, it doesn't just nudge our choices. It actually defines what choices are even on the table. It sets the basic terms of our reality. So much so that its logic stops feeling like a human-made design and starts feeling like a law of nature.
And look at what it defines. We're talking about the big stuff. It sets the rules for what work is, how we measure value, what success is supposed to look like. It even shapes how we think about time, and maybe the most powerful one of all, it draws a very clear line around what is considered realistic. When a system gets to define those words, it just becomes invisible.
So what happens when you suggest something different? Well, because the system feels like reality, any alternative idea isn't seen as a different option. It's seen as a character flaw. Propose a different way to organize a team? You're being utopian or impractical. Suggest a different goal besides endless growth? You're lazy. And this isn't because people are dumb. It's what happens when you're completely surrounded by one way of thinking. It's called environmental saturation.
Okay, so this leads us to a huge common trap. Once you start to see the outlines of the machine, your first instinct is to run around and try to show everybody else. You want to wake them up. But this almost never, ever works.
You know, when you try to tell someone they're trapped, you're accidentally putting yourself in the position of the one who gets it, which puts them in the position of being blind. That doesn't build connection, it builds walls. It can make them feel ashamed, and for you, it's a fast track to burnout, when, shocker, the world doesn't instantly change.
So let's completely reframe this. Instead of this big, heroic mission to help people see the matrix, a much more effective approach is to just help people function better within their actual real-world constraints. It's not about yelling that the sky is falling, it's about building stronger shelters. It's about improving the systems you can actually reach, your team, your community, your own little corner of the world.
So if arguing doesn't work, what does? This right here is the absolute heart of this whole explainer. The key isn't a better argument, it's a different experience. I really want to let that one land, because it's so important. People don't change their minds because you show them a killer slide deck. Our imagination unlocks when we feel a different reality, even just for a moment. The only way to really know you're in a machine is to touch something that doesn't run on its gears.
And this contrast we're talking about, it isn't some far-off fantasy. It's super concrete. Just imagine being in a workplace where someone messes up, and the first response is curiosity, not blame. Or being on a project that decides, you know what? Good enough is actually good enough. We don't need to scale this to the moon. These little pockets where a different logic is at play are what let our brains go, oh, wait a second, maybe this isn't the only way to do things.
Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? But how in the world do you actually create these moments of contrast in your real life at your real job? Let's get practical.
The whole idea is to run these little experiments. They need to be small, and they have to feel safe. This isn't about some heroic, stand-on-the-table protest. It's just about designing a small moment to let yourself and the people around you feel what it's like to operate with a slightly different rulebook. The only goal is to notice how it feels.
And as you can see, these experiments are incredibly simple. First, bounded effort. Just try stopping a task when more effort stops making it better. This helps you feel the difference between good enough and endless perfection. Second, shared ownership. Frame a problem as a system we can fix together, not as one person's fault. Third, mistake without penalty. Try admitting a small mistake early and just see what happens. The goal is just acknowledgement, not punishment. Then there's non-monetized contribution, just helping someone without needing a payback. And finally, my favorite, cap growth on purpose. Deliberately say, this project will not get any bigger than this.
Now, this is the most critical part. After you try one of these, you don't need some grand takeaway. The work is in the noticing. Just ask these simple questions. Did that feel different? How? Was it harder or easier? Did we feel more focused, more connected? Did we feel safer? The experience of the contrast is all the heavy lifting, not some big argument you build on top of it.
So as we wrap this up, let's be really clear about what the actual goal is here, because it's probably not what you think.
This is such a liberating thought. You don't have to carry the weight of figuring out how to escape the entire system. The win is so much quieter than that. It's just helping yourself and others stop believing that the current way we do things is the only possible way. Once that belief cracks open, even a little bit, 1,000 alternatives suddenly become thinkable again. And there's a name for this process: cognitive de-enclosure. It's that click in your brain, that mental shift that happens when you experience real contrast. It's the moment you realize the walls of the room are not the walls of the universe. They were built, which means they can be rebuilt. This is how you get your imagination back.
And so, we end here with a new mission. It's not your job to save the world. It's not your job to wake everyone up. Your job, our job, can be something quieter, more sustainable, and in the end, way more powerful. To just create these small pockets of contrast that make other ways of being thinkable. And that right there might just be everything.